Welcome back. Another episode, Pound for Pound Boxing Report, episode 401. I am your host, Michael. Joining me, Gail will not be with us this evening. She's under the weather, so we hope she gets better and have her. Hope to have her back on the next episode. But with us this week, regular Daniel from Four Boxing News and the Inscriber, as well as a couple folks you hadn't had on the show for quite a while. But for those who are long time followers of Pound for Pound Boxing Report, you should know who these gentlemen are. I mentioned Three Kings Boxing a lot, just about every episode, and I mentioned senior writer for Three Kings Boxing, Bo. Well, he's with us this week, as well as Marquise from nyfights.com. What's going on, gentlemen?
Not much, man. How's it going?
What's going on, man? Let's get started.
Hanging in there. A lot of people try to come down from that Tank Garcia fight that took place this weekend and the hype that involved that. And for those who are like, WTF, what the hell, in terms of particularly when it comes to boxing over the last 24 hours or so, it pertains to one Teofimo Lopez. We will talk about those topics shortly. For those who are new to Pound for Pound Box Report, Pound for Pound Box Report, live YouTube show, podcast, blog, site, etc. Talking all things boxing. The motto is when boxing is good, we'll talk about it. When it's bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, if it concerns the sweet science, it will get discussed here. If you want to find out all information regarding Pound for Pound Boxing Report, the site is the place to go to, p4pboxingreport.com. If you wish to email us any questions, thoughts, suggestions, etc., you can do so, p4pboxing at p4pboxingreport.com. On the site, you can navigate, you can find links for the YouTube channel, Facebook page, IG, Tumblr page, as well as where you can find the podcast on multiple platforms, be it Anchor, be it Spotify, be it Apple Podcasts, anywhere where you listen to your podcast, you can find Pound for Pound Box Report. Also, if you wish to donate some coin to Pound for Pound Box Report, got Cash Me and PayPal donation links. And last but certainly not least, please check out the link to what was formerly known as beachbody.com, but now is known as BODI. If you're looking to get your body right heading into the summer, please check out BODI/Beachbody. Workout programs for whatever you're interested in. And if you're looking to just lift weights, I suggest you check out Lift 4 and the new and the updated version of Lift 4, Lift More. If you're looking for hardcore, strenuous, HIIT and functional style workout, please check out programs like 645, 6 weeks of work. If you're looking for things to do in the morning, check out Morning Meltdown. Check out Bar Blend if you're for the ladies out there, or anybody who wants to participate in that. If you're looking for boxing specific program, please check out 10 rounds, 6-week programs, 3 days a week of boxing based cardio, 2 days a week of resistance/weight work. At the very least, please check out BODI and take advantage of the 14-day trial. And that is for 14 days. You get free access to any and all programs on Body, BODI/Beachbody. Let's get things going this evening. And where should we go? Let's save the big fight for last. Switch it up this week. And instead, let's start the show by going to Wales, right? Cardiff, Wales. The story of Rakhimov and Cordina, as most boxing fans know, Joe Cordina last year, he won the IBF junior lightweight title, was stripped of it after getting injured, right? And Rakhimov beat Zelfa Barrett for that vacant IBF belt. Per IBF order, his first defense was against Cordina. And I'll go to you, Bo. Overall, a good fight. Cordina, he's known as a boxer. He's also known as a guy who had major issues with his right hand, right? He won the title against Ogawa, one hit a quitter right hand, put him down and out. And in this fight, the power was still there in the right hand. He put Rakhimov down early in the fight with a left hand, but throughout the fight, he was able to buzz Rakhimov with that right hand, right? Rakhimov rallied, but in the end, Cordina, in my opinion, pulled away in the championship rounds. They had it close. I thought Cordina won comfortably. Cordina is once again IBF champion. Your thoughts on his performance as well as his future in a 130-pound division that's kind of up in the air right now, with fighters like Shakur Stevenson, particularly with Shakur Stevenson exiting the division.
Yeah, that division is up in the air, like you said, with him going up. Right now, I think you got you're waiting to see a crown the winner between Mauricio Lara and I believe that's Lee Wood. You got Emmanuel Navarrete, but I think he's gonna be fighting Oscar Valdez, or some point he's gonna fight Oscar Valdez. So yeah, that division is kind of up in the air. But the funny thing is, that oh, and don't forget about Ashaki Foster. Now, Ashaki Foster to me, that's the biggest threat to him. Ashaki Foster presents the biggest threat to God damn, his name just left me. That fat Joe Cordina. Yeah. Ashaki Foster presents the biggest threat to him because Ashaki Foster can switch with him. He can keep up with him as far as footwork is concerned. He can keep up with him movement for movement, footwork to footwork. He can Ashaki Foster can also, from a reflex standpoint, with his feet, can get to the spot because Cordina was trying to use the angles, which he did use them pretty good until Rakhimov made him make an adjustment. So you got Ashaki Foster who can also, use the angles and get to that space. Ashaki Foster likes to pump his jab. He likes to move around. So Ashaki Foster to me is the biggest threat to him. But make no mistake about it, it was a good win for him because, like you said, he knocked Rakhimov down. Rakhimov got up and started giving it to him. He actually hurt Cordina. I can't remember. I think it might have been the 6th or 7th round. One of them rounds, he hurt Joe Cordina because he held on to him. There were moments in during the fight where Cordina's output got low. You saw Rakhimov pick up, but like I said, all in all, it was a good fight. I wouldn't mind seeing them do it again because I know you said you had him winning quite comfortably. I had it something like maybe 116, 112, something like that. Well, no, I mean 116, 111 because of the knockdown. But the story for me is these judges' scorecards, though. The judges' scorecards are ridiculous. And like one judge scored at 114, 113 in favor of Cordina. I'm like, what? He thought Cordina was the person that got knocked down? Like, how do you come up with that scorecard? But yeah, other than that, though, like I said, though, division, 130 is going to be an interesting division because, like I said, it's open for somebody for the taking. So it's going to be about who makes their first move. He talked about doing unifications. So we'll see because, like I said, you got some fights that's taking place around him right now where, a lot of these fights may not take place right away. And I know that's what he wants. But, good for him. He definitely proved that the right hand healed up nicely. So it's going to be interesting to see what the next move is going to be for him and his team.
Speaking of the next move, I go to you, Marquise and Daniel. Cordina, after the fight, is already talking. He wants a unification in Wales and whatnot. Both talked about the openness of the division with Navarrete, with Ashaki Foster, right? Foster, who just defeated Ray Vargas to win the vacant WBC belt. Navarrete comeback win over Liam Wilson to capture the vacant WBO title. It's one thing for Cordina to talk unification, is another thing to get it. Would it be wise at this point for Hearn to push his fighter straight towards a unification bout against one of the other champions, or do you think that they will put a couple of defenses in the belt to get some coin for Cordina before he makes such a move?
My thinking is he's going to get a homecoming fight in Wales to pretty much satisfy his wishes in regards to that, actually. I don't believe he's going to get these unifications because they're different promotional outlets. And last I checked, Bob Arum still hates Eddie. So until he changes his tune on that, I'm not expecting anything out of the ordinary. Same thing with anything with Ray Vargas. Everyone's talking about the big thing with 130 that always bothered me, and it's been like this for a while, before the pandemic as well. The belt holders weren't exactly racing for unifications beforehand, and these belts were pretty much just left off when people missed weight and kept it moving. Same thing like the IBF, like this Cordina belt that he won from the IBF. This was Jojo Diaz's old belt, wasn't it? It's like this is stuff like that. So until we actually get an actual opponent for this guy, I'm convinced, honestly, he's just talking a big game, but he's probably facing Selfa Barrett next, and then we'll worry about it from there.
Do you agree, Daniel?
Yeah, there's unfortunately a lot of political machinations that don't unfortunately suit Cordina very well. Now, realistically, though, we probably don't have to wait when it comes to the issue because Ray Vargas, that was never going to be an issue because he already said he's going to move that down to featherweight. O'Shaquie Foster might be actually the one that would probably make, but I agree with Bo. That's a little bit dangerous from a skill standpoint because watching this fight, even though Cordina had the crisper punches, he had the better counters, and did get the knockdown. He got into a fight where he really didn't need to get into a fight. He could just box rock him off and gotten the victory a lot easier than what he wound up doing. So unfortunately, it's a little bit of a mess, but I wouldn't be surprised with the way this year's going if they get sorted out by the end of the year.
I tend to agree with you, gentlemen. I just don't see Cordina as good as he looks in the fight in his win over Rakhimov. I just don't see Hearn shooting him straight away for a unification bout. It doesn't make much sense. Either of the other champions don't have that kind of build-up where people are clamoring for them to fight each other. You have to have money. Money is a big component here as well. And you have to, if it doesn't make dollars, it don't make sense, for lack of better words. And right now, it just doesn't make sense for Cordina to seek a unification bout. Not yet. Get a title defense or two. And more importantly, if the other champions are worth anything, let them establish themselves as well. We know about Navarrete, right? But he's not a big name. He wasn't a big name necessarily at 122 or 126. And if we're really going to be honest, can we really say he's a 130-pounder right now, coming off of that fight against Liam Wilson? And given the fact that, let's just be kind here and say he looked a little pudgy in that fight. He looks more of a featherweight than he is a real true junior lightweight. And Foster looked terrific in that win against Foster. Was that a one-off, or is there real substance behind the kid? Can't figure it out. Can't find that out until he defends the belt a couple of times. If he does that, builds himself up, his promoters really do a good job of pushing him and putting him in the spotlight, then I could see a possible bout between him and Cordina at some point in 2024. But Cordina has the ability to make a real name for himself in Wales and throughout the UK, right? Become one of the mainstays of Matchroom. And if I'm Eddie Hearn, that would be my goal for him moving forward. Going to move from Wales to Las Vegas, and of course, we're going to talk about Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. But I want to focus on the undercard here, and I'll go to you, Marquise. People talk about David Benavidez, hardcore heads, pundits like ourselves. A lot of us have talked about David Benavidez and used the word boogeyman when it comes to him in the super middleweight division. But there's a guy who holds a version of the WBA belt at 168, WBA regular strap, by the name of David Morrell. He fought this weekend, right, against a late replacement by the name of Falcao, Brazilian former Olympian, right? Dusted him off, went through him like a hot knife through butter. Stopped.
You're being nice, Dick. You're being nice, Michael. He murdered that dude.
Pretty much. And I know Benavidez is one of the hot names when it comes to a potential fight against Canelo. But is it high time that we start talking more about Morrell? Because if looks mean anything, looks in terms of how he fights, right? This dude is serious. This dude is the goods. And in a potential bout between a Morrell, Benavidez, or even Canelo, I will put Morrell right up there with Benavidez or Canelo as the best at 168 pounds.
He's up there, Michael. What it is, though, I don't think he's ready yet. I mean, he's been calling Benavidez out for about 3 or 4 fights now. I mean, that hasn't changed yet since. But my big thing with him at this point is when is they going to actually give Morrell an actual opponent that isn't either A, late notice, B, answering the Facebook ad for fights, or C, an actual ranked body. The best fight on Morrell's win, what is it? Calvin Henderson? I mean, what are we talking about right now? So until we get an actual live opponent, I'd like to see something different. But I will admit his style is obviously causing people problems because he just runs and bum rushes people. So until we see him against an actual body who can actually move around with him, I'm skeptical. But either way, Falcao was murdered in that fight last week, guys. And I'm glad he's alive because he was out longer than the actual fight took place, to the point where you may have heard this on the broadcast, and I challenge anyone to listen back for it. You heard, like, because no one was saying anything in the crowd because the crowd wasn't there yet. You could hear visibly somebody yell, "I think he broke his neck," literally while he was sitting there motionless for about 10 minutes. So it was like, eh. So and hopefully we can get Morrell guys that aren't guys that he's killing here and paralyzing and putting on Social Security. But until then, I hope he gets it back. I hope we get a fight with Benavidez and Plant. Honestly, I would like to see those fights next, but we know how this game works, guys, and I expect to see Anthony Durrell dusted off the couch one more time. So I expect that all more than anything else.
Oh, hell no. Shout out to Ivan DC and
Ivan?
Gus, aka Corruption in Boxing, who joining us, checking us live on the YouTube chat. A comment here from Ivan. Before I go to you, Daniel and Bo, to talk about Morrell. Ivan says, in terms of our last talk about Cordina, he says, I feel Navarrete's last lack of not using a nutritionist in his corner is going to catch up with him at some point, and the more weight you go up, the harder the punches will be. Well, we've been saying that for about Navarrete going back to his featherweight days. The problem is, Ivan, he's stubborn. He thinks he can do it his own way and eat how he wants and train how he wants, and they think it's going to work. It should have cost him against Liam Wilson because there's some controversy, about when he was put down and got up. Many people felt that there was some funny business going on where, and the fight should have been stopped at that point. But like I said, some funny business was going on. Quick word on that, Bo, because you might want quick word on that, Bo, in terms of Ivan's point about Navarrete and his lack of self-discipline when it comes to his nutrition and when it comes to his discipline.
Oh, it's very simple. He's making money now. That's it. See, when he wasn't making money and he wasn't a champion, he was starving. He was hungry. He couldn't, you know what I'm saying? He had to save his money. He had to only eat that one taco. Now that he's making money, he can eat steak and rice and as much as the eyes galore, so he's gorging himself. That's really all that is, because if you go back and watch, he's a totally different fighter. Like, he's now become a one-dimensional fighter where he's relying on his power to save him in fights. I mean, go back and watch when he fought, even before he fought Isaac Dogbe. Go watch any of his fights. He was a different fighter. Now it's clear to see, like you said, he's undisciplined. He's coming in. I mean, how do you have a gut at 130 damn pounds? You got a gut at 130. How does that happen? You got flab at 130. So yeah, he's falling into that trap that it happens to a lot of fighters. You start getting fame, start getting success, start making money, then you start doing things you weren't able to do, and you just become undisciplined. And now he's, like I said, he becomes a one-dimensional fighter because he's clearly only depending upon his power to save him from fights. But I heard you mention David Morrell earlier. You know, the thing about that fight is, right, David Morrell checks all the boxes. Okay, he passes the eye test, right? He checks all the boxes that we know. Okay, you're above you're above fighting C-level guys. We need you to fight the B-level, the B-level, B+ minus guys. The fight with David Benavidez, and of course, like Mike mentioned, if you go to 3kingboxing.com, Samson told us that he has a contract with both these guys' names on it, right? But he hasn't, quote unquote, called for that fight just yet. And I don't think they're going to do that because it's counterproductive to do it. David Benavidez could possibly be on his way to either fighting Canelo or getting a chance to fight for a title, depending on what Canelo do after May 3rd. right? Why would you do that? Put Benavidez or Morrell in there together when you can do exactly what Matchroom did when they had Billy Joe and Colin Smith about to fight each other. Stop. You grab a title, I'll grab a title, and then if we can both fight Canelo, bet. If not, then we at least have titles, and then we can fight each other and make a boatload of money. So that I don't think that fight happens next, even though Morrell wants it. But that's an interesting fight right there. Like I would love to see that fight. But yeah, but as far as Manuel Navarrete, success, and that's just that is that simple. Success.
Ivan says here in the chat, in the live YouTube chat, that a lot of people say Morrell isn't ready for the big names, but in my opinion, if you have a belt, which he does, then you should go up against the top dogs at some point. What say you, Daniel, about our discussion about Morrell? Is he ready for the likes of Benavidez? Is he ready for the likes of Canelo? And if he is, when do you think those fights will happen, if they ever happen?
He may not be fully ready yet, but the way 168 is shaped up, there's little to no choice. In this manner, with the way Canelo cleaned out the division, there isn't a lot of challengers outside of Benavidez. So he might actually get that fight, but it might be by default that he winds up getting it because he's young, he's tall, he fights in a way that's complete opposite of the Cuban school. So it's an exciting fighter, and obviously that knockout puts him in the eyes of casual fans. The problem's going to be is he going to be ready with somebody like Benavidez who can take a decent punch, and once his motor gets going, it's hard, if not impossible, to stop. And I'm sorry, outside of Bivol coming down to 168, Canelo is still the class of the division. And he hasn't lost that much of a step. When it came to Bivol, he just lost to a clearly superior boxer. And when it came to skill-wise. So he may not be fully ready because of his opponents, but the way the division shapes up, he may not have a choice but to get ready.
Yeah, and to Bo's point, and you can check this out on threekingsboxing.com. Please check out threekingsboxing.com, your source for pure unadulterated boxing information. Shout out to the entire Three Kings Boxing staff and crew. 2K, aka Project of Boxing Talk, the man, the HNIC behind 3KB, Bo, who you're listening to right now, senior writer and head of media relations. You got myself, senior writer, Red, who does a lot of the work on the website behind the scenes, as well as shout out to all the other contributors to Three Kings Boxing. Again, threekingsboxing.com, your source for pure, unadulterated boxing information. In terms of Morrell, right? You don't want to be presumptuous. You don't want to be prisoner of the moment, right? However, he does look awfully good in that ring, and his talent cannot be denied. Is he ready for the elite? You will not know until you put him in there. Would it be wise for him for Likovitz to do it at this point? Maybe not. But the fan in me says, why not put him in? Why not make these fights happen? You don't know what Canelo's going to do next because let's face it, he got those diva tendencies, and he's already brushing the shoulder off on a fight with Benavidez, even though Benavidez is his mandatory challenger. That being the case, I would love to see Benavidez and Morrell fight later on this year, if not early next year. That's the fight for me at 168 pounds. Sure, you can put some fights in there to build Morrell up, and it'll probably be the best bet. But eventually, that's the fight I want to see. Let's make it happen, whether this year or early next year. Just my opinion on that matter, because Yeah, yeah, Morrell. He looks like he could be the definite truth at that fight. And he, in my opinion, he can fight with anyone. That fight was on the undercard of the fight that's been talked about all year long, right? Um, Gervonta Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia. Uh, we had plenty of content over on 3kingsboxing.com. The hype was ridiculous. The pre-fight stuff was ridiculous. From the moment the bout was announced, they finally squared off this past weekend in Vegas. Tank scored 2 knockdowns en route to a 7th round stoppage, finished him with a body shot. A lot of uproar in the aftermath from Tank, from Ryan, and from other parties, and we will talk about all that here. But I'm just going to leave the floor to anybody for anyone who wants to jump in. Your thoughts on what went down, and as I named in our particular, and remember I named on this particular episode, I named it. Did the fight live up to the hype? Well, did the fight live up to the hype in your opinion? If anybody wants to jump in, please do.
Absolutely, Michael. And it's not even close. And that's why this fight's been such a big deal, because these guys have been talking since it feels like literally about 2 presidents now. And now that we got this fight out of the way, it just feels, you know what? It just feels good to be a boxing fan for once, because this was a fight that people were complaining about forever. Lord knows it took them a hard and long time to get there, but they got there and it paid off. I'm satisfied with it. I can't complain to you.
Daniel Bo, what say you?
It lived up to the hype in the sense of the fact that people were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
You had people that don't pay attention to boxing at all talking about it. And my sister is the perfect age for this, because the only fighter that she knows by first name is Canelo. She was asking me about this fight. If I could get my sister interested in that, if she is already interested in that, that tells you success. Now, we don't know how much the pay-per-view figures are going to be, because DAZN decided to be the worst customer service possible over the weekend. So we don't know what the actual final pay-per-view numbers are going to be when you take into account the massive refunds that people are going to have to give. But it did live up to the hype. And yeah, there was craziness in the weigh-in, and there was some foolishness in the post-fight, but at the end of the day, both these guys came out better to me. Tank is now clear. He shut a lot of critics up, including me. He proved that he is a lot more adept fighting, a lot more adept in defense, and in taking away an opponent's main advantage. When he took away the left hand of Ryan for a good portion of the fight, up to the 6th round. If Tank wouldn't have landed that body shot, and the way the fight was going, it probably would have been close in the championship rounds. But the knockdown probably would have been the difference. But like I said, his name's on the conversation. And Ryan gains a lot by losing, because he at least took a shot. And it wasn't like a situation where he got blitzed and obliterated in round 1. No, he made it through. He made adjustments. You could tell he was starting to make adjustments, just that perfect shot to the liver. He's going to gain something when he gets to 140 pounds, because now you know, both by this and the Luke Campbell fight, he takes one in the chin, but he's quick to get back up, and he's able to withstand it afterwards. He just made the body that's a little bit soft. But yeah, it's a fight that I think almost everybody won overall. The only losers, like I said, are DAZN, because of their terrible customer service.
Quick comment here from Ivan DC. What do you think about Teofimo's words on Ryan Garcia? Well, look, we will talk about Ryan Garcia and the way the fight ended, and we will talk about, go deep dive into Teofimo and how he's been talking later. Appreciate the question. But in terms of, did the fight live up to the hype? In the ring, was it a great fight? No, it wasn't. Dramatic, because both guys can hit, but was it just an overall, just an exhibition of a skill? No. Was it a back and forth war? No. So from that perspective, it wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. But did it live up to the hype in terms of box office, in terms of the money made, which ultimately what counts to a lot of folks? Yeah. Sold out gate, right? Pay-per-view numbers are going to be substantial. Both fighters are going to make a good chunk of change from the gate, from the pay-per-view sales and whatnot. And so from that aspect, it did live up to the hype. Not only did it live up to the hype, it exceeded the hype. I'll go to you, Bo. Was this fight all that it was cracked up to be in and out of the ring?
Well, yes and no. As far as from a financial standpoint, yeah. But as far as how he was building it, the winner's going to be the face of boxing. Hell no. Like
No, no.
No, hell no. I mean, when did Canelo lead the sport? When did Anthony Joshua lead the sport? You know what I'm saying? Like, when did these guys all of a sudden dip out and say, I'm done? No, hell no, that never happened. But the problem I have with it is, and I knew Tank Davis would win because the fights he was taking were fights to prepare him. Ryan Garcia, and I said this before, he should have took that Jester fight. He should have taken that Jester fight because the deficiencies and the flaws I saw in that Tank Davis fight, I was like, wow, they were glaring to me. First of all, and some people may agree, may disagree. Fighters with fast hands are tremendously flawed because the way they train themselves to fight is geared around one thing: their fast hands. So fast fighters always have fundamental flaws that they don't ever capitalize on. Ryan Garcia, for a fast fighter, did not have good foot placement. That's why Tank was always able to slip outside. Ryan Garcia did not realize that you're trying to jab and punch at a lower fighter. So you can't try to jab and punch as if you're trying to punch at somebody of equal size or equal height. You have to make an adjustment for that punch because there's going to be a second delay for your punch to get there and then get in return. So when you're jabbing for a shorter fighter, understand when you jabbing down, you're coming down to his lower center of gravity, which is why Tank was able to counter him like that. Yeah, I mean, I can go on, but I'll say this because I heard Daniel say that they both came out better for it. Maybe Ryan Garcia came out better because now he got to see that level, which is what Tank is on. But I don't think Tank came out any better because I think Tank fought better fighters than Ryan Garcia. Mario Barrios, Rolando Romero, they're better fighters than me than Ryan Garcia. But in the end, this was a fight he has to take. I need to see Tank Davis in there against the winner of Teofimo Lopez not Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney and Vasyl Lomachenko. I need to see him in there with Scruffy. These are the guys he needs to be fighting. Like I'm sick of these dudes at 135 being here at 135. We can have the four kings and not fighting each other. It's getting sickening. So hopefully he fights one of these guys. I think he's going to fight Isaac Cruz next. And if Rolando Romero winds up winning that WBA title, he may fight him. But from a financial standpoint, they did an excellent job of building the fight financially. I would most 100% definitely give them that. Now, as far as Ryan going up to 140, man, some dogs at 140 that's going to give him some problems. I think Gary Antoine Russell gives him a hard time. I definitely think Regis Prograis gives him a hard time. I'd like to fight with him and Subaru Matias. I think that's an interesting fight for him. That's probably that's probably one of the fights that he could probably win. Everything else to me is a toss up. But can he win the title at 140? Yeah, he can win the title at 140. So it's going to be interesting to see which way they go. And then it'll also be interesting to see what happens when Ryan Garcia finally gets that experience that he didn't have, and then he rematches Tank Davis. So, a lot to look forward to. I just would like to see all of these guys finally fight each other. Now, hopefully, Devin can get in the mix with one of these guys, or Devin and Shakur can fight, or Shakur and Davis can fight. Hopefully, man, we get those fights.
And I wrote about this, I put an article about this with Three Kings Boxing immediately after Tank's win, and he said that he was the face of boxing. How can Tank Davis be the face of boxing when we really don't know if he is the best at 135 pounds? I'm still waiting for an answer on that.
Marketing. It's all about marketing, Mike. If you have the machine of Floyd and you have his army of fans going into it, it's going to create narrative. That's why I said he came out better for it because now he's going to be even more of a fake. It's like, oh, he beat somebody that's young, that's wiry in that front. That's the main thing about it. Is he actually the best? No. In fact, the opponent's make, he better pray that Devin Haney wins that fight against Loma because Loma could still probably box circles around Tank, even at this stage. So
Loma and Haney can beat him. So can Shakur.
oh no, no. The worst fight for Tank right now is Shakur. Shakur will embarrass him. So that's the main thing about it. But it's the machine that sells, and it's one of the unfortunate things bad about when it comes to Top Rank. Top Rank has really good fighters in the lightweight division, but outside of Loma, they don't market them well. That left the avenue open for Tank.
Now, there's a lot of talk about how this fight ended, right? Mm-hmm. Davis checked him with a body shot. Garcia went down, stayed down, right? In the aftermath, in the days after this fight, let me see if I can pronounce this guy's name.
Sparring guy?
Yeah. Batar. I'm gonna butcher his name. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name.
I just call him the Mongolian. I said the Mongolian guy. You can't.
There is a guy who was in. Okay, let me try to rewrap this. During the lead up and pre-fight press conferences, right? Tank Davis and Ellerby, who I like to call Sir Nose, have been talking about how Garcia is weak in the gut and he was hurt in camp from body shots, right? The fight ended by a body shot. Well, in the days following this fight, there's a fighter by the name of Sensor Erdenabat. That's the best I can do. My apologies. My apologies for butchering your name, sir. Sensor Erdenabat. He came out with a video, and you can see the video on 3kingsboxing.com, both the Facebook page as well as the IG page, right? He has since come out and said that he was the guy who hurt Garcia in sparring with the body shot. And if you've seen Erden Batar on video, one of his signature punches is a right hook to the body, right? Very good right hook to the body. This kid is a undefeated prospect, former Olympian. If you've seen him on video, he's a talented fighter, right? All of this has led up to many in the boxing community basically saying that Tank Davis had a mole in the Garcia camp. Ryan Garcia also came with a video, said he was betrayed by this guy in camp. What do y'all say about this stuff in the aftermath, about Garcia being hurt in sparring? This cat saying he was the one who hurt Ryan Garcia in sparring, the issue of a mole and whatnot. Your reaction to all of this?
Honestly, Mike, it's all a bunch of nothing burger. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When it comes to whenever people come out saying that they did this in sparring or in all the training stuff, at the end of the day, I'm always reminded it's practice. And Allen Iverson immediately goes to the back of my head. It's like we're talking about practice. And another thing too is also this sparring story, Mike. Who gains to gain an advantage from this sparring story? Obviously, it's not Garcia. It's the guy who's trying to put himself over. It's him. I mean, who's going to confirm or deny this stuff? It's sparring stuff. So it's whatever. I take for what it's worth. I know he fought tonight on this Boxing Insider card on DAZN that probably 2 people were watching. But other than that, it's whatever. It's just a guy trying to make a name for himself. And honestly, Mike, why would you make a name for yourself after obviously the biggest fight of the year and you supposedly injured allegedly before the fight, the biggest fight in the year, one of the B-sides. So I get it. It's all a bunch of shenanigans. This is the same credit we were doing a while back before the pandemic. Remember when Jared Anderson in sparring hurt Tyson Fury? All of a sudden, he's this big heavyweight boogeyman for a while. This is the same shtick. It's whatever.
Daniel, Bo?
Well, Marquise right in the sense of the fact that it is practice. It's just the one thing that happens. And the one thing, unfortunately, in boxing is what's done in sparring and training camp was supposed to be kept in sparring and training camp, but we don't live in that age anymore. We live in the age of everybody has a camera. Everybody has internet access. That's in at least in this country that has a phone. So it's easy to record something, record things that normally would not get out of the gym. Does it fix certain things? No, because there's all this crap about the catch weight and the rehydration clause. But the thing is, at the end of the day, you look at what Ryan says, he doesn't make any excuses. He says, I got beat, the better man won. It's just that probably one guy decided to say one thing and it just feels bad. But we've heard this story before, like the mole thing, like that's been out for weeks before fight week. So we knew what was happening beforehand. But at this point, what's done is done. The fight's already made. We know who won. We know who lost.
Here's the thing for me, Bo.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to principle, right? The old adage is what goes on in the gym stays in the gym. And we all know stories of fighters getting buzzed, getting hurt while preparing for the fight. We know how Tyson got put down before, while prime Mike Tyson has gotten put down before while getting ready for a fight. We know that Sugar Ray Leonard got put down by Quincy Taylor while preparing for Hagler, right? We know of those stories, but the thing is, we didn't hear about it until after the fight or until years later since a particular fight. That's not the case anymore. With cameras and whatnot, we hear about this story here with Garcia. This is just not too long after the story of after the video of Rolly Romero getting put on his behind in training. And just go back a little bit, we know the story of Spatafor and Mayweather prior to Spatafor's first defense of the IBF lightweight title back in '99. But you didn't hear about this stuff until afterwards. It was just all word on the street.
Right.
What do you say of the lack of principles that have seemed to be disappearing and dissipating in 2023 boxing?
The age that we live in right now. These guys ain't got no principle. Because now it's all about making a name. It's like, okay, I can make a name for myself now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Oh man, this is a good marketing tool. Now I can put this sparring session on the internet. And it's a good marketing tool for me to get myself out there. And that's really what it is. You go back to I remember first time I saw the sparring session between Tyson and I think it was called The Truth Williams. It was when they was about to fight. And they showed you, HBO showed you some of the sparring sessions. You're like, okay, cool. But, apparently this happened back when Tyson was 18. I remember when Andre Ward was about to fight Kovalev and John David Jackson tried to go over to their side. So it's, spies in the camp and people telling things up in the camp. At the end of the day, you still got to go out and execute. Because somebody mentioned earlier that because there's a leaked photo of Ellis, Rashidi Ellis, giving it to Canelo Alvarez, right? Now, obviously, Rashidi Ellis is not better than damn Canelo Alvarez. He couldn't beat the last guy he fought. It was worse than Canelo Alvarez. He got knocked. He got lost by him, right? It's sparring. You're working on something to perfect it before you get in the ring. It means absolutely nothing. Sparring is not 100%. And you don't go 100% because you can't go 100% in sparring. That's how guys get hurt and things like that. So you're not trying to mess up the money. But as far as guys revealing these tapes, it's just the world we live in today. It's the age of social media, Mike, where, hey, I want to get myself out there. I want to do, I want to get noticed. How can I get noticed? Oh, I stopped Ryan. I hurt Ryan Garcia. And as far as people who was trying to say, oh, he quit. Look, and I'm always first to say, hey man, you got to get up and fight. You got to push through that. You got to bear through this shit. But that being a former fighter and being in the ring, that shot, the worst thing Ryan Garcia could have done was give in to it, because he tried to resist it, but he gave in, and that's the worst thing you can do, is give in. Because once you give in, your body's gonna react. Your body's gonna know it's been hurt. Your legs is gonna know that they're now been weakened. and it just knocks the breath out of you. And for that moment that your breath is out, your body doesn't react the way it should per se, as if you just got like a flash knockdown. Those shots take a lot out of you. And I don't know if anybody has never had the wind knocked out of them, but you don't get that back in no 10 goddamn seconds. So for people who, want to get on Ryan, and trust me, I wanted to see Ryan lose because I felt that, Ryan stepped out of line. So he was in line, then he stepped out of line and came right back to get his spot back. Like, you should never be able to do that. Yeah. But at the same time, let's keep it real. He got hit with a punch that only a handful of fighters that you can name have been hit by that punch and survived it. And those that have survived it will tell you they were not this. They're not. I remember who was it? Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward. For the remainder of the next two, when Mickey Ward landed that shot to deliver on Arturo Gatti, for the remainder of the next 2 rounds, Arturo Gatti was not the freaking same. So no, man, that punch just takes it out of you. He didn't quit. That punch that punch does it to you, because once he gave into it, that was it. That his whole body reacted. So, don't ride him on that, because I dare anybody. I tell you what, let the hell with Tank. Let my 11-year-old son punch you in that same spot. You tell me how you feel. It takes something out of you, man.
Yeah,
it was a mean shot in a sensitive area, so can't be mad at Ryan for not getting up.
Not at all. Really can't. You really can't. And the one thing I'll say is this, man. When you get in that ring, right? And I'm the first to say this. Listen, man. Whatever happens in that ring happens in that ring. You get talked about. It is what it is. It's just a game, right? It's just the nature of the beast, right? And that's just really what it is, right? But you still got to be realistic about what you saw, and that's the thing that kind of kills me. Like, you don't always know what's going on with that fight, or what, like you said, especially if Ryan Garcia got hurt with a body shot in training camp. Right now, you're going there against someone that probably punches harder in 10 days, and you're hitting the same spot. But what do you think is going to happen? So, no, like I said, it's always been spies in camps. You still got to go out there and execute. But at the end of the day, you gotta, it's certain things you need to know about boxing. Like, you get hit in the liver, or you get hit in the jawline, right below the earlobe, or in the temple. Your legs are gonna shake.
Ball game.
Yeah. Your legs are gonna shake. Ask Anthony Joshua, because that's what Andy Ruiz hit him with. Your legs are gonna shake, man. So
yeah.
You got to know these things.
As Tyson said, his mind knew what was going on, but his body fucked up.
Body was fucked up.
Right, yeah, his body, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I hope you were thoroughly entertained. In terms of the future of Garcia, who knows? He's going to stay up at 145 pounds, most likely. Where he goes from here is anyone's guess as far as Tank. He got this fight out the way. I want to see him fight Shakur, the winner of Devin Lomachenko, by the end. If he hadn't fought these guys 12 months from now, I'm going to be one kind of ticked off, right? And
you might as well get ready for that.
Get mad now, buddy. Get mad now.
If I'm not talking about him pound for pound, there will be plenty of articles on Three Kings of Boxing about it, because it's high time that at this stage of his career, he's not some 22-year-old guy who just won the title. He's 28 now. He's been a champion a long time. It's high time that he start fighting the best of the best. Period.
No, well, I am convinced. I'm with you, Bonus. I think we're getting the Gervonta Davis Bum of the Month club after this. You mentioned the Pitbull Cruz rematch. I think we're getting Chris. I think we're getting Chris Colbert at some point. We're getting the rest of the also rans at 135 until this whole unification thing shows up. Which, let's be honest, man, until this Ryan Garcia fight, which had no belts on the line to begin with, it's not going to happen. So, I mean, it's one of those things where, and it's kind of why I do hate that whole face of boxing cliche, because all it does is give people a title that they're going to run with, that they're going to speak into existence, that they're going to put on a weird pedestal that no one else will acknowledge except them, and they're going to put it in their heads. It's going to be obnoxious. So we're going to hear, he's going to say that we're going to see the spiel when the winner of that Lomachenko-Haney fight is going to be like, I can already pinpoint it, Mike. I can already see it now. We're going to see the Ellerby or someone from PBC say, probably Ellerby, say something along the lines of, well, Haney's a good fighter, but he doesn't bring anything to the table. You already know the script already, man. It's guaranteed like tax returns.
Right.
So, I'm waiting until we get something else beforehand.
He doesn't. Yeah, right. He doesn't bring nothing to the table but the undisputed championship. Man.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
All this is all you can say. I'm sorry, but all Ellerby has to say is he signed to Bob, therefore we don't fuck with him. That's all he needs to say.
Right.
Yeah.
And before we move on, I mentioned how Floyd Mayweather and how he got him in a particular sparring session, and Gus commented about it here about Floyd refused to unify with Spadafora after being embarrassed twice. Here's the deal. Spadafora won the title in summer of '99, made his first title defense in December of that year. 3 months before the fight, Spadafora was training out in Vegas, and Floyd just impromptu decided to step in the gym. The story is that Floyd was not in shape. Floyd was not in shape. Spadafora was in prime shape, but he still thought that he could just get in there and just give Spadafora the business. Well, they sparred 6 rounds. Floyd did well the first round or so, and then there was video about it before it just all of a sudden disappeared on YouTube.
Yeah, what's that all about?
From round 3 on, Spadafora basically gave Floyd the business, and at the end of those 6 rounds, Floyd was laying on the floor, dead tired. Floyd Mayweather Sr. Just looked at his son with disgust and walked out the ring. And from that, it was at that sparring session. Word on legend has it that Floyd said he would never be out of shape again. He learned from that because he got his butt whooped in that sparring session, and it is what it is. You used to see video of it all over the place on YouTube, but you cannot find it anymore. It's the same. It's the same reason, Marquise. It's the same reason, Marquise, that you cannot find the infamous sparring session between Gennaro Hernandez and Sugar Shane Mosley.
Oh,
yeah, when Gennaro Hernandez fought De La Hoya '95. Mosley was one of his sparring partners. Well, the last sparring session before that fight, Mosley broke his nose. If you wonder why all of a sudden Chicanito Hernandez just started to bleed all over the place and why he quit because of the broken nose and whatnot, it was because of that, because Mosley busted his nose badly on the last day of last day of camp. It was video of it. I wish I had it because I had it on my old laptop, but I forgot to. I threw the laptop away. I didn't get the drive out, but like an idiot, I didn't translate that drive to this present laptop I'm using right now. But it used to be all over the place, but you can't find that anymore. Whoever behind the scenes just don't want those sparring sessions out there, particularly the one with Floyd Spadafora.
Nope.
So, you're not gonna. Yeah, you're never gonna see that. But it's an interesting story that I remember mentioning that supposedly this was a reaction to what Sweet Pea did to Floyd in their sparring sessions because of the way Sweet Pea showed up from Whitaker. And how he reacted to the gym.
And that's what I mean by principles, and why I asked Bo with that. Sweet Pea was known for beating guys up in sparring. I mean,
that's well documented.
Another quick story. 1983, amateur Whitaker was preparing for a big amateur tournament. It was either the Pan Ams or the World Championships. Stepped into the ring in Detroit with a guy who was getting ready to fight for a world title. That fighter had the Camacho. Sweet Pea spanked him, had his way with him. So that's what I mean by principles, right? That's what I mean by principles. You used to not see that, but unfortunately in 2023 boxing, you see that stuff all the time now. let's move on to the news here. And I want to get this news. This is going to be different from what I put in the docket. I want to get this out the way because, man, has Teofimo Lopez made waves over the last 24 to 36 hours. You can see articles abound here on 3kingboxing.com. I'll go to you, Bo, because I go to you, Bo.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's video of Teofimo on. I have to give this a nod, the page nod. Punch Boxing on YouTube. He did a video. Lopez did a video with him, and yeah, he not only said that this was going to be his last fight with ESPN. He chastised Andre Ward and Timothy Bradley in the video, and the last thing that he said that has folks ticked off, particularly if you are black folks, black fighters. In which he said, ESPN, they can basically have their black fighters. I'm leaving after this fight, blah, blah, blah. Now, his father tried to give a mea culpa of what his son said, and I'll leave it up to you, Bo. He tried to make up for it. He tried to apologize for it, but I don't think he did a good job because in the very end, he kind of made matters worse.
Well, the reality is that you got to understand what you're dealing with, okay? You're dealing with a father-son combination where the discipline for both of them is not there. Sometimes Teofimo Jr. has to act like the older parent to Teofimo Sr. And then because there's no level of discipline there, certain things are said in the heat of the moment because you haven't taught your son, hey, you got to control your emotions. Hey, you got to look at things from a different perspective. Hey, you got to know your audience. Hey, you got to even understand that this hurts business. This can hurt your career. Those conversations are not being had. It's, hey, you feel that way? Fuck it, say it, son. And then when he says it, now you're left to do damage control, but you don't know how to do damage control because you don't have any discipline yourself. And basically, what it is, it boils down to is Lopez Jr. is just basically upset because he feels like, the guy that he did not like, the guy that he refused to fight, and Devin Haney comes over the top rank, and they just opening doors and hugging him and doing all this and embracing him and all this shit. And it's bothering him because, his father tried talking about Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis and Jared Miller, Jared Anderson. He just threw those names in. Trust me, it's bothering them that it's Devin Haney. Okay? Because they've been doing this with Shakur Stevenson. They've been doing this push with Jared Anderson. They've been doing this push with Keyshawn Davis. So that's not what bothers you now. What bothers you is it's Devin Haney, and they're pushing him harder because of him fighting Lomachenko than when he fought Lomachenko. But again, context is key. Well, when you fought Lomachenko during a pandemic, you really can do a lot of pushing at that time, right? Then Devin Haney actually became an undisputed champion to where yours was in controversy because we knew you wasn't an undisputed champion. So he's feeling some kind of way because of this factor situation. And when he goes, y'all can go ahead on and keep your black fighters, right? As if to say, oh, I'm better than those guys. Well, no, not really. Not really. As of late, you've shown that you've mentally fractured. And the worst thing you can do as a fighter is show that you're fractured, because once that tag gets on you, that tag never comes off. I don't care what you do. That tag stays on you and it never comes off. But then his father doesn't make it no better. And again, I'll go to all the 3kingboxing.com because I wrote it and I said, when his father was explaining his son's situation, he probably should have stopped when he said his son just feels like they're pushing these guys who just happen to be black, right? They're pushing these guys. But then again, if you check the division, they're pushing these guys in. They're a hot division. The lightweight is a hot division. The heavyweight is a hot division. So the division they're pushing these guys in happens to be some of the hottest divisions in boxing. But make no mistake about it, Top Rank still is all in on Tyson Fury. It's still all in on Tyson Fury and trying to get stuff done with him. But so they're in the hottest division of boxing. So his father comes out and then he makes it worse by saying, "Oh, my son's not racist." And the minute he said that, I said, "Oh God, here we go."
Oh boy!
Because what do people do?
There we go.
He made the classic defense that most racists do.
Yes, and this is what I said because now for me, what made me mad is this part where he said, and again, let me classify by saying this. If you understand, and Daniel, you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll definitely understand because Daniel can tell you there's always been this class thing amongst Latinos Morenos and Latinos Blancos. You know that there's always been a classic thing between. There's always been that private war between Latino Morenos and Latino Blancos. It's always been that classic war. So it's not. It's an inability to explain in context properly when you don't have the proper understanding. Because when you start off by saying, "Oh, my son's not racist," the next thing you have to do is prove why. And instead you just said, "No, listen, man, my son misspoke. He wasn't trying to be racial. He's pissed off. He's upset, X, Y, and Z." He goes into the classic, "Oh, man, my son-in-law is racist. All right, my daughter married a black person. We love black people, dude." Hold on, stop. So your example is the one black person that your daughter married? Like, that's your example.
Memo to white folks, white adjacent folks.
Yeah, let's improve race relations tonight, guys. Seriously, yeah.
Stop using someone's best friends or black argument. It doesn't fly.
All right.
It never has, and it never will.
No,
all right. If we're gonna dive into this, we're gonna dive into this.
Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. Then he says what upset me was he said, "I was raised around black people. I lived in the project." Okay, hold on. Time out.
Wait a minute, man.
Stop. Time out. So you inadvertently not knowing, you added on a stereotype that's always attached to us, which is that's the place that you can find us all. This project, that's where we all come from, and that's just not true.
All of us are poor in the neighborhood in the hood, guys.
Right.
Know.
And that's just not true. So if you understand the whole thing about the whole like and I'm sure Daniel's I'm gonna let Daniel go into it because I can go into it. Me and Daniel have had these actual talks because in case some of y'all don't know, I am part of the Moreno Latino cultura because mi otra familia la cubano está bien porque yo hablar español siempre es la esta porque yo tengo orgulloso de mi cultura. But you have to understand that's something you have to explain, but you got to be careful. And when you're trying to justify something that of that nature, you have to use a better choice of words other than, "Oh, my son-in-law is black, so I'm not. How can I be racist, man? My son-in-law is black."
That doesn't make me racist at all.
Right? Yeah, you can't. I understand what he was trying to do. I understand what he was trying to say, but everybody stepped on that landmine because they try to explain it in the most hideous way that's easy to explain. And it seems like you just said, they don't learn from that, But go ahead, Daniel. I'm going to let you take it from here, Daniel, because I know you got a lot to say.
I want to get Marquis' opinion. Then I want to let Daniel basically have the floor here.
No problem. Actually, in fact, I want to hear Daniel's point too on this because I think I know where he's going, but I want to go a different route with this actually on you guys too for a second. Not my style, guys, to root for corporations and conglomerates like Top Rank Boxing, which has been around since World War II and shit. But at what point does Top Rank say to Teofimo Lopez and his family, "Fuck off"? I mean, seriously, let's go back for a little bit, guys. Vasily Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, that fight started up. What was holding that fight to begin with? Teofimo Lopez. The IBF unification bout, that whole process where it went to fucking DAZN against George Kambosos in Matchroom because of the whole purse bitch shenanigans. What was the problem with that? Teofimo Lopez. Because he wanted at the end of the day, because it was supposed to be with Triller. Then on the back end, Triller when Enron and everything else. But at the end of the day, guys, it's really just Teofimo Lopez constantly and repeatedly putting his mouth in his foot over and over again for saying this stupid shit over and over again. Like he doesn't learn from this. And it's like, he just sounds like a guy who's going through a lot going on and has a lot of issues for a guy who we last seen against Sandor Martin do absolutely bullshit. So it's like,
and he's embarrassed by that Sandor Martin fight. That's why he's mad at Ward and Bradley, because of their criticism. And he got caught on camera questioning himself. Something
do I still got it
do in public,
right?
And to Bradley's,
but that comes from, but that comes from that you gotta have somebody to tell you the truth. You gotta have that. You gotta have somebody to tell you looked at like shit. You gotta have that. That way, when you hear the actual truth, it doesn't bother you. Or you gotta have somebody to say, "Hey, in public, we're gonna say this, but behind closed doors, you know, you're not the undisputed champion. You know that, right? You're not the undisputed champion. You know, you gotta have that, and that's what we're seeing is the result of him not having that person tell him that."
Yeah, and that, like we mentioned earlier about the whole face of boxing with Davis. This is the same thing with Teofimo Lopez with that whole undisputed thing. It got to his head. Clearly, he went all petrol with it, and hasn't been the same, honestly, since that Lomachenko fight. And truth be told, guys, if Lomachenko shows up in the first 6 rounds of that fight, we're having a different conversation here altogether. But the one thing I always wondered,
dominated him in the second half of the fight.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Lomachenko was interpretive dance the first 6 rounds. I mean, you can do what you want with that. But I always wonder with Teofimo Lopez more than anything else, for a guy who just talks all this junk and has all this hoopla, and for some reason is wanting to shoot down at Top Rank and other corporations, where it's like, Top Rank got behind this guy. Are we forgetting that he was the guy on Heisman night? I mean, what? At some point, you got to look in the mirror, and as Bo mentioned, you got to have someone to actually tell you, hey, man, this shit ain't working right now. You gotta have someone that you gotta have that devil in the corner. You have to have that, but he doesn't have it yet. And obviously, his dad doing spin control. If your dad's doing spin control PR, we already know he's in trouble here, guys. So we gotta just keep moving from him.
Daniel, the floor is yours.
Ooh, yeah, that's okay. This is gonna be fun because, like Bo mentioned, yeah, there is a very, very fucked up dynamic in the Latino community when it comes into the racial dynamics of it. It's one of the reasons why I stated that if you're going to compare English racism to Spanish racism is actually worse, because you've actually ingrained a little bit of religion into it, which is what happened. And that's built up a culture in the Latino community where, and you'll see the best example of it, and Bo, you know this, the best example of it you can see in current times is in the Cuban American community, where
very true.
The ones that look very, very pale, that they look Irish, they look down.
Dominicans as well, but that's another story.
Yeah, but last time I checked, I didn't see an entire group of Dominicans wearing MAGA hats in that area because they're that bad. But
yeah, but look what they do to other dark Latinos and either dark folks in the Caribbean, particularly Haitians. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, that's the whole thing. But the entire situation, unfortunately, is Teofimo comes from that sector, and it's really, really bad when you fall into certain areas in Central America, in South America, or where you grew up, like in Brooklyn, Long Island, and in Miami, where you will see that sentiment a lot, unfortunately. And it's something that you think that you can brush it off if you surround yourself with the wrong people, but eventually, unfortunately, it pops out. It's something that it's very hard to really undo without an entire community having to look at it. But at the end of the day, that's the world, unfortunately, Teofimo comes from. It's a world that's not only accepted, it's actually encouraged in some ways. So ultimately, this was going to happen, unfortunately, sooner or later. Because I agree with Bo, like, he's probably more mad than anything that David Haynes is getting a lot of the love now. But at the end of the day, he's going to love it because he's seen as the avenue to get the belt to Lomachenko. That's pretty much what it is. And at the end of the day,
he is also a victim of success. He is a victim of the fact that he did beat Lomachenko. Say what you want to be with the first attack, he did beat him. And the worst thing, honestly, that could have happened to him was Triller existing. Because once they threw that bid to fight Kambosos, even though nobody thought that they were going to pay that, it went to his head. And all the bullshit that surrounded him came to the light. And is it bad? Hell yeah, because unfortunately his dad is a person that would rather be his friend than his father. And that's something that you can't change even with age.
Angel Garcia 2.0.
Ooh. Well, no.
I can't say that because at least Angel, there was a level of understanding between Angel and Danny where you felt, okay, Angel more or less like, listen, I'll take all the heat so you can just focus on fighting.
Yeah, that's all it is. At least Danny Garcia had discipline. At least Danny Garcia understood, like, hey, I actually have to deal with these people. You don't. But we also know the reason why. When it comes to Angel Garcia, the only person that he trains is his son. So
right, exactly.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, that's what you have to picture of it. It's something that has to be done and settled. It's something that actually popped off in the Garcia tank fight into it. But at the end of the day, you gotta live with your situation. You gotta live by your words. And Teofimo's burning. I'll put it this way: he's burning bridges at the rate where he may actually have to change his name to CM Punk. So I'll leave it at that.
And you asked Marquise, when is enough going to be enough?
Yeah.
When it comes to Teofimo, I'll tell you when. If he loses to Taylor, because if he loses to Taylor,
He's gone.
Be surprised. Right, do not be surprised if Top Rank gives him the boot.
He'll be on suicide watch. That boy loses to Josh Taylor, he's on suicide watch.
Someone get Taylor the hotline. I think Taylor gives him problems. But
and even if he wins, and say the scenario, let's say he wins, and yet he gets on the mic afterwards and tries to blow up the spot, Top Rank will still let him go. He ain't worth the hassle.
I don't think it's worth the hassle at this point. I mean, what's he going to do? Call it Regis Progress again? I mean, we're not going to sit through that.
He's boxing Cheddar Bob. He keeps shooting himself in the foot over and over.
This is, it's funny how, and I typically put this, and it's a generational thing, right? And the young generation comes in and oftentimes don't learn the history or don't know the history, or they get that thought process in their head, okay, it won't happen to me. Go down the list of guys that tried to shake down or double-cross Bob Arams. Manny Pacquiao loses to Jeff Horner. Timothy Bradley, who wanted more money. You got it. Okay, you want more money? Bet. He gets to draw against Diego Chavez.
Yeah.
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Oh, I want more money. No, you got to fight Gennady Golovkin. Well, I ain't going to fight Gennady Golovkin. He goes out there and loses to Andrew Draws, whoever that Polish cat was.
Andy Lee. What was that guy? Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, he goes out. He gets blown up by him. Oscar De La Hoya, same thing. Miguel Cotto, I want more money and my contract's up and I want to leave. Bet, you're the champion, but you got to come down and wait. You're going to fight Pacquiao. Yeah, Pacquiao's the A-side. Like, these are things.
And these are the best scenarios. I mean, Mikey Garcia had the same problem. They froze his ass out for 2 years. So
froze him out for 2 years, right?
There's a golden rule. That's the golden rule.
Right. Hell Floyd's money from Floyd was like, hey, I want to buy myself out. Bet. I buy myself out. Where's my money for Zab Judah? Yeah, sitting at your severance pay. Like, I mean, this is Bob. Just go down.
This is Bob Arum. It's one of the commandments of boxing. You do not fuck with Bob Arum. You just don't. But people keep doing it over. The only two fighters that have come out on top from fucking with Bob, ultimately in the end, in the medium term and in the long term, have been Floyd and Oscar. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because they had a following that Bob couldn't control. But everybody else, you're gonna learn.
Well, no, because he kind of screwed Oscar. Remember, he made Oscar come down to the 147. Oscar ain't fought at 147. I don't know how long to fight Pacquiao.
5 years, yeah.
Yeah, but but this is what I'm talking about. No, Bo, this is what I'm talking about, though. Then, as a promoter, he fucked Bob over in Morales Barrera 2 and 3.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
Because that's the first ones. Like that's where he says, "Hey, like they came out on top a little bit more on the business side because, hey, Oscar, okay, say what you want about it, but he built a successful promotion for a good while in Golden Boy. And with Floyd, we know the story with Floyd. We know the story with him. Like he had to go to Al Heyman to save himself from being broke. And now, in a way, they're tied to the hip, whether Floyd likes it or not. So. But they still came out on top with Bob, but that leaves scars. Look at Bob. Look at Mark Crawford right now. You try to sue Bob to try to get a fight that Bob didn't want to do because that means working with Al, and now you're stuck in limbo where nobody knows who you're gonna fight next. And I'm just waiting for the announcement that you're gonna fight Rocha because that's your mandatory right now. Because I pretty much lost almost all belief. I lost almost all belief that this Spence fight's ever gonna happen. So.
Oh, that fight wouldn't happen at this. No, that fight's not happening. People want to think that fight's happening. It's not happening.
In terms of Teofimo, keep your mouth shut, sir.
Shut up, man.
Keep your mouth shut because you're about to talk yourself out of this sport. You better hope you win against Taylor because if you don't, it's not going to be good. And I agree with Bo 100% in terms of Taylor because he's already on shaky ground from a mental point to begin with. He showed that in the fight with Sandor Martin. He proved that in the loss, in how he reacted to the loss against Kambosos. He ain't been the same since, physically or mentally. And we're just seeing, in my opinion, the deteriorate, not just the immaturity, but a certain deterioration when it comes to Teofimo Lopez. That's what it is.
I mean, he was sitting there, and that Kambosos fight was so funny. That Kambosos fight is so funny because he's sitting there. I won, right? Oh, hold on. Tio, pick up your eye. Your eye about to fall out your face.
No, I've been right head, bro.
Get your eye down.
It's despite the contrary, this is not good. And his father didn't help it, and we'll see where it goes and how it'll impact his fight against Taylor. Let's move on to a fight that was announced this week. Are we going to talk about? Are we going to talk about Oscar De La Hoya fake death threats? We're going to talk about. No, because who in his right mind believes it?
Why couldn't Oscar De La Hoya, who's a Las Vegas resident, just say he wanted to beat fucking traffic out of the T-Mobile to get to the strip clubs? That's all he had to say. It's Vegas. We understand. No.
Yeah, for those who don't know, De La Hoya, who was absent in the aftermath of Ryan Garcia's loss against Tank.
In the presser, yeah.
De La Hoya was absent, and so was Hopkins. And De La Hoya comes out on video basically saying that the reason he wasn't there because he was advised not to because death threats, etc., etc. That's the story.
Right.
I don't buy it. Nobody with any amount of sense buys it. Let's move on. So let's move on.
That was probably the only thing that from the weigh-in that made me look at Tank's camp. I'm like, do you know who this man is? Like when they tried to holler at B-Hop, I'm like, B-Hop could be the nicest person in the world. Doesn't mean he doesn't have shooters.
I mean, B-Hop
last time shooters. And they reached B-more.
Didn't he do a decade for a couple of things? I'm just saying, like, don't. That's
I literally went like B-Hop did actual time, like he did actual fucking time. I'm like, he's got shooters and B-more. Tank. Be careful. They're more loyal to him than they are to you.
All I know is if I'm Ryan, I'm pissed off. So you had death threats. You sent me out there, huh?
You know what? No, I'm trying to figure that out too, guys, because we all cover boxing stuff for a little bit here. Usually, when in a big time fight like this, the beast or the loser is nowhere to be fucking found in these press conferences. Why is Ryan hanging out? What's he win for autographs? I mean, what's he going to say? Good fight, GG's, Shank, whatever have you. I mean, that's all he said anyway. I mean, what's the point of that? Go home. Hit the brakes.
It wasn't. Let's move on. Let's move on because.
Oh no! Let's not even forget that Goosen wasn't even there either. Let's throw that into it. Goosen wasn't even there either. He just dipped.
Goosen's credit. The jeans store.
Nobody knows.
So yeah, again, nobody is buying De La Hoya's quote unquote reason.
No,
and
no, we're
that's all
not.
I got to say about that. It was announced earlier this week that the rematch between Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr. is going to happen in July 17th, I believe. But a fight I want to focus on the fight that's on the undercard. The return of Franchon Crews-Dezurn, right? She's the undisputed middleweight champion. She's fighting Savannah Marshall. People remember Savannah Marshall for her fight against Clarissa Shields last year at 160 pounds. Shields ended up winning by decision. Close competitive fight. Marshall was rallying over the second half of the bout, but it just wasn't enough when it came to the scorecards. She's moving up to 168 pounds to fight Crews, who's been out the ring for a minute, over a year now, right? Assess this fight. How much of a chance do you give Marshall against Crews-Dezurn?
A hell of a lot of chance.
Yeah, she's the more active fighter at this point. I haven't seen Crews-Dezurn since that zone card where we fell out 4 years ago. So any fight you've had since then is beyond me.
Yeah.
So.
A hell of a lot. Now, the only thing I'll say is Savannah Marshall's not knocking out Franchon Crews. Franchon Crews fought a dude on steroids and couldn't get knocked out. So Savannah Marshall ain't knocking her out.
Oh no, it's not. No, she's not knocking her out. But to me, she has a better chance she'll win because she's got a chip on her shoulder. She's got a real chip on her. She wants that rematch with Clarissa, real bad.
Well, yeah, and then what people don't know, this is a rematch too, because Savannah Marshall beat Franchon Crews in the amateurs too. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, women's weight class is at 168. There's like 5 women up there. I'm sure he's fought like 5 or 6 times already, didn't they? Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
This fight is part of. I'll leave it. I'll let y'all continue the commentary. But my thinking is, part of the reason she took this fight is because of the money. Because let's face it,
she about to get her ass about Shadasia Green.
She has a mandatory. On Shadasia Green. And if you in her camp and you're thinking what's better from a financial standpoint,
the woman off the couch,
Marshall or fighting Shadasia Green, Marshall, because Shadasia Green, given the way she looked against Setterus, the same Setterus that took Franchon Crews the decision, I can understand why she's taking Savannah Marshall now.
I'm with you. I agree, 100%.
Yep.
Because I mean, the minute the WBC ordered that fight, that's when we came out with I was in talk with Savannah Marshall. When? That was the quietest to grab her. That was the quietest to grab her.
Yeah. You know what? We know when this conversation started. A minute after Mauricio said, "Yeah, you got to fight Green." I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not even talking." I'm just like, "Come on, we ain't forcing this game."
Yeah.
So kudos on her to that fight, but let's just say I think there's an underlying reason that this fight is happening. And Marshall, that being said, Marshall still has a very, very good chance of winning. I think it'll be a good fight. But if you ask me right now, Crews is the bigger woman. She's probably the physically stronger woman, but do not be surprised if Savannah Marshall leaves the ring, the undisputed super middleweight champion.
Well, remember, Marshall started her career at 168.
Yeah. That is right. You're right.
She's been here before.
Let's move on to 8 fights here that's going to take place this weekend. Light weekend, given the
very
overload
light weekend.
that was Tank and Ryan. Williams Zepeda ranked lightweight, fighting a guy by the name of Arboleda.
Jaime Arboleda.
I'm in. I don't have nothing much
Man,
here.
this fight sucks, Mike. You're
Someone
being
give me
nice,
a
man.
reason to be excited about this fight.
I can't, man. This fight, this whole Golden Boy card this weekend screams erectile dysfunction, guys. I mean, there's nothing on this fight worth looking for.
Erectile dysfunction.
Like seriously, like, God, I mean, guys, honestly, they have Diego De La Hoya in a WBA regional belt in the co-main. That is what? Who asked for that? Frederick Brewster's the third up the ladder, a guy from Ghana. Like, there is nothing of significance or value on this card unless you're a Golden Boy apologist or have season tickets and can't get out of it. Like, there's nothing on this card worth watching, man. You might as well say we have fights next weekend, man.
The only fight that grabs my attention is that cat Stevens on the undercard. That's the only fight because he fought Sean Hensfield and a very good fighter, undefeated fighters, and he pulled it out. And so I want to see how he does in another fight after a fight like that. That's it. Other than that, I'm with my man right here, man. Listen, man, this fight is weaker than generic tissue.
Like, I'm honest.
Listen, this fight is weaker than generic tissue dipped in water.
Okay, I'll put it this way. It's lightweight division. Zepeda is a decent fighter. I should pay attention to this, but you know what I'm going to be doing Saturday? I'm actually going to go to a charity bike riding event in the city, even though it's going to be raining, and trying to see if I could get tickets for me and my niece to go to the Garden on Sunday to watch the Heat wipe the floor with the bum-ass Knicks in Game 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weekend for more important things, guys. Let's be honest.
Look here, I'm going to be...
If William Zepeda can't get past the guy who lost to Chris Colbert, then there's a bigger questions we need to be asking this weekend besides that.
Listen, man, I'm gonna be doing something like tuck point in my house at night. I'm gonna get out here with a flashlight and tuck point in my house.
Man, look, I have nothing else to add because my level.
Sorry, Mike, I tried, man, but there ain't shit on this card, man.
Is not high. It's not high for this point. And to even talk more about this fight will just kind of bring down the show even more. So I think we're going to start ending the show on that note.
Look, I'll put it to you this way, Mike. I'll put it to you this way because this actually is the perfect epitome for it. The quote unquote press breakfast that they had in Vegas for Adrian Broner's next fight was more.
Hey, Don King, who wasn't. Hey, you want to know what a win-win sounds like, guys? Not having to talk to Don King and Adrian Broner and getting a free breakfast. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Right.
And I think we're going to end the show on that note.
Mike?
Yo.
Sorry, I was on mute, my bad. And I think we're going to end the show on that note. I want to thank Gus, a.k.a. Corruption and Boxing, Ivan DC, and
thanks,
Josh for their comments and questions in the chat. Going to go around the panel here. If you like what you've heard, if you're checking us out here, if you're listening to us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. To do so will help the overall algorithms get to monetize in terms of monetization and all that stuff. Going to go around the panel here. Going to start with my brethren, the OG head of media relations for Three Kings Boxing, fellow senior writer for Three Kings Boxing, both from Truth and Fact Sports Talk. For those who want to talk the sweet science, for those who want to talk sports in general, let the folks know where they can find you.
Man, as always, man, you know, you can find me at threekingsboxing.com for the latest grades on the sport of boxing, as well as right here on Pound Boxing, Boxing Report. And also, you can catch me on Truth and Facts, about sports, where I talk about everything about, especially the Milwaukee Bucks wetting the bed, Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis scared of the ball in the fourth quarter. About that, Phoenix Suns gonna be world champions. Book it. World champions gonna be NBA champions. Gonna be Phoenix Suns. But yeah, and the Miami Heat. I'm sorry, Daniel, they're going down this next round, baby. They're going down, bro. They're not gonna make it. They're not gonna make it, bro. They're not gonna make it this next round, bro.
I'll go to you, Marquise of nyflights.com. Weak sauce on Twitter for those who want to talk boxing or anything else. Let the folks know where they can hit you up.
Yeah, pretty much the place you just mentioned. Weak Sauce Radio, yo, tweet, taking it on the Instagram and all that nonsense. NYFights.com. I work with Gail whenever she's here. I'll usually, whenever she writes, put some good stuff up, all that good stuff. Pretty much, man, everything essentially has been going pretty sweet for the most part, boxing-wise. I'm just glad we got things to actually talk about, despite the fact that this weekend is absolutely bollocks in terms of fights this weekend. But I will admit one thing as well. To your point, Bo, Phoenix may win, but they got to come through Denver here first to do it. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, and shout out to Gail. She's probably Gail couldn't get on tonight, and she couldn't get on. But she's probably thinking about taking back her ex-boyfriend Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
I go to last but certainly not least, Daniel, for boxing news as well as the Inscriber for those who want to talk the sweet science, for those who want to talk pro wrestling, for those who want to talk the NBA, especially when it comes to your Miami Heat and Jimmy Damn Butler, who has been going off in this playoffs in that Milwaukee series, 56, 40, and 40 in back-to-back games.
Is that good?
One-man show against the Bucks. Let the folks know where they can hit you up.
Yes, folks, you can find me on Twitter, Rugs99, RAWKZ99. It is also my social on Mastodon and the other ones, because I think Elon's on a mission to fully kill this thing by the end of the day. But yeah, they'll catch me on there, and I'll say this: Stephen A., keep talking, Stephen A., about the Garden, and then watch Jimmy Butler drop 70 in Game 1.
And for those who want to talk boxing, music, fitness, you know what it is with me on Twitter, Brother JR76. For those who want to talk boxing, music, fitness, and fragrance, aka or fragrance/colognes, you can check me out on IG and TikTok, Brother JRSC. On the next episode, I guess we have to talk about this fight with William Zepeda. I guess.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
So we will talk about that. Any other boxing news in the interim, and we will do a preview of the return of one Canelo Alvarez, who returns May 6th, fighting John Ryder, who is the WBO interim champion at 168 pounds. That fight took place in Guadalajara, Mexico. The Mexican redhead returns to his home nation of Mexico to fight. On the undercard, you have Julio Cesar Martinez defending his WBC flyweight title against Ronald Batista. Alexander Gvozdyk,
he's not hurt
champion
yet?
at 175 pounds. I know, right? He's scheduled. He's scheduled
All
to
right.
fight on that card against Richard Bolotnick. So we will cover all of those fights and any other boxing news of the matter up until the weekend of that fight. So yeah, again, I want to thank everybody in the chat. For Bo of Three Kings Boxing and Truth and Facts about Sports Talk, for Marquise of NY Fights, for Daniel for Boxing News and the Inscriber, I am Michael. This has been episode 401 of the Pound for Pound Boxing Report. We will see you guys next time. Y'all have a good evening. Good night.